Are you ready?
Welcome once again to Yemi's house. Yes, sir. As they always say in my language, Oshori Palaba, Oshori Polu, Akoyishi Yanilele, Kubodo Panileni. What it means is no matter how ugly your mama is, you can never ever laugh at your own mama unless you're a bastard, you know. So today we shall be discussing two important issues we shall be discussing with our analyst. Number one, it has to do with this our natural resources in Africa. We have so many, but we are yet to have like a reserve, a central reserve, while other countries that are not among even the first 100 to have natural resources in the world are the ones basically, helping Africa to reserve their natural resources. Take, for example, out of the first 100 on the list of those who have natural resources in the world, no European country is on that list. The first country to make it is number 107, which is Bulgaria. Nigeria is among the first 50, Ghana and all of them, but none of them seems to have like a good reserve. They only have it in countries like France, Germany, Belgium, which is where, unfortunately, that is where the headquarters of gold reserve in the world is, and they don't even have any gold reserve. Although we know that King Leopold, that's a long story, but in a nutshell, we shall be discussing this issue with two gentlemen, Mr. Martins and Mr. Temi. They will be shedding more light on these and many more questions. And when we come back from the short break, we shall be diving into it. Okay? Stay tuned.
Hello, lovely people. I'm Judy from Germany and I'm Miss Summer World 2020. Don't forget like and subscribe now to Yemi's house. House of Diverse, Interracial, Interconnectivity. Love you all.
Welcome, Mr. Martins, once again to Yemi's house, Berlin. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm good. We are starting the journey of 2021.
Okay.
Thank you, Yemi.
Welcome, Mr. Temi. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much. I'm doing very fine, and being the first day of the week. It's a nice weather outside, though it's a little bit chilly, but that's how it has always been here. But it's a good day, and I believe it's also going to be a very great week for each and every one of us. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. During some few weeks ago, I think between last week and this week, I was reading it online somewhere that has to do with our natural resources in Africa. And I decided to go and look at the list of all the countries that have the natural resources in the world. And it's so sad that out of the first 100, there is no European or European country there. The first one that is near to Europe is Australia, which is another continent on its own. And the first country has to be number 107, which is Bulgaria.
Wow.
And Nigeria happens to be among the first 50. And it's so sad that the first 50 has 30 countries, 30 African countries there. But my point is this, with all these natural resources we have in Africa, we don't have anything like that of Fort Knox, because Germany, they don't have gold. France, they don't have gold, yet they have gold reserves. The headquarters of gold reserve in the world is in Belgium, and Belgium don't have any gold as their natural resources. Why is that happening? We'll start with Mr. Martins. Why is that happening?
Well, thank you. It's sad. It's unfortunate, and I would have loved to borrow more words to describe that. That the son of a butcher has nothing to eat but the bones. You understand that Africa was once the bright price of the whole world. The Europeans, they were scrambling for their share in the African land. They were trying to grab our land, and that's what brought about the Berlin Conference.
Yeah.
All they came for was just the commercial interest. And since we have been talking of independence, almost all countries in Africa are independent, except maybe one that has not been recognized as a full-fledged country on its own. We have gotten this independence, but the independence is such that they are still holding on to our remote control. Many African countries still have their reserves in CFA. Now CFA surrendered to the euro, automatically they are having their reserves in euro. Many other African countries, they have their local currency, but they are still tied to America. Everything they get here, they still have to evaluate in terms of the value of the dollar. So it's like Africa needs to reawaken themselves. Number one, they need to go and see what kind of education are they giving to their own children. Our kind of education is such that we are not producing people that can think. We are producing people that can memorize things. You memorize only what has been written down to you, only what you have been told. That's what you can memorize. You can't bring out something new. How can Africa be producing oil from their own underground? And they are taking it to as far as Europe, to as far as Asia, to go and refine. How come? Are we producing cocoa? And we are going to other countries like Switzerland to go and refine, to turn it to chocolate. It is not that we are even taking it to the mill there. We are selling the raw natural resources. So the problem is Africa seeing itself as a factory? No, they are seeing themselves as the farm. So we cannot continue with this mentality. The mentality of Africa should change, must change, as in we don't have any option than to change. Look at what we are doing in ICT in Africa, especially in Africa. Elon Musk is the richest man as of today in the whole world. He is born in Africa. He started his business in Africa. He grew his business in Africa, but he's doing it in a way that it is ICT. It is not tied to politics. Everything you tie to our politics will die naturally. I hope we will change our ways soon. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Temi, what do you say to that?
Oh, wow. Anyway, I will start by this. You know, it's even written in the Bible. Or let me just paraphrase it. God cannot do everything for us. As a matter of fact, He created everything. Even in Genesis, the Bible says after God created everything, He also allowed the first man, according to the Bible, to name all the things we see today. So it means what God has given us the power to do, He will not help us to do it. And this is the sorry case of Africa. Even though, according to historians, Africa in the ancient world, they made a lot of contribution to the world civilization. But I think at a point in time, they stopped it. Of course, we can understand that colonialism, slave trade played a very big role in that, but it is not only African continent that was enslaved. There were other countries that were enslaved, but they came out of this shackle of enslavement. Anyway, just like what Mr. Martin said, we cannot jettison or we cannot just wish away education from an overall development, because in 21st century, education is very important. It is pivotal. And I can borrow a leap from the story of Germany. Germany was destroyed during Adolf Hitler because of the World War.
Yeah.
But what happened? A whole country that was destroyed. They started from the beginning and they rebuilt everything. And yet today we can say, oh, German machines, we can say, oh, German this, German that. Why? Because they took a concerted effort. They see the importance of development and they took their future in their own hands and they developed. Okay. Yeah, and I also want to say this. I have looked across for any particular set of people or for any society to develop. Education is important. And I think education is from it's a Greek word, which means educo. Educo is a Greek word. It means something you induce from within, something you make to come out from within. So, and I can liken this with lifestyle, with language, because I have studied across Europe or so many countries around the world. There is no nation, no country that develops outside of their mother tongue. Language self-preservation is important, and I am looking for somebody who will come and debate with me. I have not seen any nation who develop outside of their mother tongue, and I think this is one of the reasons why Africa is lacking behind, why Africa is failing. It's a pity you go to some schools, the same textbook the professor used when he was a student, now he's a professor after 10, 15, 20 years. He's still using the same material.
He's still using it.
Sake of it. In Nigeria, you have a constitution that says to be the president of the nation, you just need to have school cert, or I don't know, NEPA bill, I don't know. What?
You don't have to. You don't need the school cert. You don't need the school cert. The case is settled in court that you just have to pass through the school. You don't even need the certificate to be qualified.
Can you imagine? So,
yeah, we can cite Atiku versus Buhari.
Any nation that fails to invest into their younger ones or the youth generation is doomed to fail.
The institutions that we have in Africa are the weak points. They are too weak. Look at what Trump tried to do in America. If it was in Africa, it doesn't need to call anybody. It will just send DSS after the political parties that are raising issues against him, and they will just arrest all their leaders, and that will be the end of it. And it will be sworn in. I am of the opinion that if Africa withdraw their best from Europe, from America, the world will return to their knees, begging for Nigeria, for Africa to release these people. Okay. Because I have somebody that did a study that is helping Germany today on smart city. This guy did his program in South Africa, and the German authorities saw that will be of benefit to them, and they find a way to work with that university where that guy is doing. Is of benefit to Germany as a country. So what I'm saying, we have the brain. All we just need to get right is our politics. We still have a politics where a president will just travel out of his own country to go and seek medical help in another country for diseases that can be treated locally. All he just needs to do is to wave at the door mount of the aeroplane. It's an achievement for a president.
We will go on a short break, and when we come back, we will continue. And once again to Yemi's house, and I'm still on the show. Mr. Temi and Mr. Martins, we have three major tribes in Nigeria: the Hausas, the Igbos, and the Yorubas. And since 1999 till now, I think it's been like three successive transitions. But up till now, we've seen that power has only been rotated, between two major tribes, the Hausas and the Yorubas. It's kind of marginalizing the other third tribe. And this third tribe, they're asking they want to secede. But the government is not granting this their wish. So my question is, if you look at them, they are not giving them the power and they are not allowing them to go. Don't you consider this is this not marginalization? Why that? So it goes to you, Mr. Martins.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Since you call it power, power cannot be given to you. You cannot just sit in your house and somebody will come and hand you over power to you. You will take it. So I just want to, let's go to the real issue. Let me just correct this impression that in the Constitution, anybody can aspire to become the president of Nigeria. There's no such of rotational system in the Constitution of 1999 as amended. Nobody is talking of rotation of power between the North and South, between the East and West, between the Hausa, Igbo, or Yoruba. It doesn't exist. It's just maybe a silent arrangement within one political party, say PDP, APC. Maybe they want to do it like that. But even in that, there's none that has it written in black and white expressly in their constitution that they will be rotating power between any region or any tribe. So as it is today, anybody can freely aspire to become president or anything else in Nigeria. But we have, I think it's settled that for you to be a governor of a particular state, you have to be from that state. Whether it is written in the constitution is another issue. But clearly it is like that you have to stay for some time in that state, and before you can be accepted, you can become governor in that state. So let's go back to the real issue of Nigeria. Now, I don't want to believe that the Igbos have been marginalized.
Yes.
Number one, you can't sit in your house and just because you are Igbo, somebody will come and give you the presidency. I think there are things that...
Mr. Temi doesn't seem to agree with you.
Well, he doesn't have to agree. He doesn't have to agree. He doesn't have to agree. But as it is now, Nigeria will allow you, every political party in Nigeria will allow you to take the party nomination form. When you take, there's a process. When you take the party nomination form, you go and see the what do they call the delegates. Then if the delegates now vote for you, you automatically become the candidate of that political party. Look at Goodluck Jonathan from the South. He became president of Nigeria even from a minority group. So it's about you trying to work with other tribes of the country.
I disagree with that. Nigeria is a victim of the king, or is a victim of a king and the kingmakers. You always have the people who are the top echelon, and then you have the subjects. So that is how Nigeria, after they destroyed the first constitution they have prior to 1966 coup, then Nigeria has turned into a banana republic. It is just that we are just now witnessing. Also around the same time, they remove referendum from the system. If there were no initial problem with the amalgamation of Nigeria being called as an entity, maybe if Nigeria would have left as, okay, we have the northern, the southern protectorate, maybe today what we are discussing today won't be what we are discussing. But in as much that they took away that system, then the system has created a lot of loopholes. And how can you talk of in the constitution that have been rigged because they say they have more landmass, even though they don't have the population, and because they have landmass, they should have more people in the House of Assembly. This is complete bullshit. And when you talk of who even wrote the constitution, Nigeria has been under the preoccupation of military for so many decades. And now, because of too many uproar, because they don't want war, because they killed Abiola, they needed to bribe the Yorubas, and they went to prison to bring their puppet, which is Obasanjo. And I even heard that Obasanjo was not allowed to see the constitution until when it became the president. So who wrote the constitution? Is it the Nigerian?
So when he became president and he saw the constitution, when he saw the constitution, when he became president, tried to go to National Assembly to suit himself by asking for a third term. He could go to the National Assembly to tell them to adjust the constitution to allow him to become president for the third term. He cannot go to the National Assembly to tell them to change the imbalance in the system. I think nobody has been marginalized. As far as the national constitution is concerned, anybody can aspire to become president. You can be a bridge builder by seeing things beyond your ethnic bias. Then you go and work with people of other minority groups. Okay, let's look at it. Are people in the South making it the 17th state of the South? Have they brought a candidate and the candidate has failed? Abiola became a presidential candidate of SDP and he won that election convincingly. He's from the South.
He was not by the kingmaker.
He is
He was not in
his
jail.
proposed deputy.
Today, what we have
His proposed deputy was a Muslim like him. That was a Muslim ticket.
I understood, but today, the political landscape in Nigeria today, we can see we have just two major political parties, APC and PDP. And what do you see? Even when you go through their primary for whatever position any of them is vying for, you see bribing, you see all sort of allegations, you see one kingmaker who is the leader of the party, who is choosing who to be leader. And
good. All these things happen in any political party, even from Nigeria to the USA. All these things happen in political parties. You can't but have kingmakers. But what we are saying is this: there are people that are dexterous, that knows how to maneuver their way to the top. If somebody from the Igbo extraction wants to be president of Nigeria, all he just needs to do is not to work with people that are clamoring for secession, like Nnamdi Kanu. Okay, for example, if people like Nnamdi Kanu will continue to make their noise, how will people trust the Igbo that if they get power, they will not balkanize Nigeria? People from the south, they just believe everybody in the north, they are Hausas. It's not true. In fact, go and check all the leaders, all the past leaders of this country. All the past leaders of this country, you cannot see a pure Hausa man that has ever ruled Nigeria. Is it Musa Mohammed? It's a Fulani man. Buhari is a Fulani man. Babangida is from Mina, not a pure Hausa. In fact, we have traced him to Ogbomoso. So, yes, who again? Abacha. Abacha is Kanuri.
Yes.
Abacha is Kanuri. Yes, so, Hausa has not led us. Obasanjo, we claim is Yoruba man, but we have traced him to Nisha. So, as a Yoruba man, we have only produced Shonekon, who has ruled us for 9 months as an interim president. So, yes. I think all we just need to do is we should start developing our history in a way that it will favor us for development. Who rules, it should not be a problem.
People keep history out of the curriculum system.
Well, though they have returned it. But that's not the only thing. I think what we need to do is to get a Nigeria that is focused on development. Today, we are still doing things.
Do you think secession is the best way at this particular point in time?
Let me just tell you, secession is the way to go. Secession is bad for us. It's the way to go because we are desperately blaming our amalgamation. We heap all our inefficiencies on our amalgamation. Good. So secession is the way to go in that way. But it is bad for us because we no longer have the kind of influence we have in Africa as the biggest economy, as the biggest leaders of Africa, as the giants of Africa. We will not have that with our diversity any longer. So it is bad for us in that regard. So it's either we cannot eat our cake and have it. It's either we go our separate ways. Then every region will have its own development in its own pace. Now we can't afford to go back to the 3 geopolitical zones that we used to have. We can now allow the state to function effectively as states, that we will not be having a unity democracy. We will be having a democracy that is federalist in its operation, so that Ekiti State will function as Ekiti State, and it will address the peculiar needs of the people of Ekiti State. Oyo State will be Oyo State that will specifically tackle the issues of Oyo State, and will not wait for Kano State. In Nigeria today, they generate VAT from where they can drink beer, and they share it to parts of the country where they don't drink beer, where they are
yes, to destroy even beer.
They would destroy anything, anywhere they cite bottles of beer, yet they get VAT. So let's generate money from the agriculture and use agriculture as their base. And let Lagos, where we have factories, let them turn it to money. And they generate money from their value addition. Let Port Harcourt, that's River State, let them generate money from their oil. And let everybody have his own area of strength and use it to their best advantage. I think Nigeria will work that way. Then who becomes the president will not be a problem. Anybody can just be there as a president. So we need to have a weak center and a strong federating unit. And Nigeria will be better for it.
Okay,
I
Mr.
think that's the
David.
way to go. That's the right way to go.
Mr. Martin raised quite some interesting remarks also. I don't know. Okay, take from my point of view, we are talking of secession, yeah, whether the country should disintegrate or not. From my own point of view, okay, for instance, in 2014, prior to 2015, Jonathan convened a conference. What is the outcome of the conference today? If the elected government are taking into consideration the conclusion from that, even if they are not, nobody is telling them to implement. Even if they brought out, okay, this is what was agreed on this and during this conference, okay, and this is our own submission, and they throw it to entire Nigeria. I think what we have today will not be talking about this. So this comes.
Let me just tell you about that conference. We have every president that we have had since let me say independence, they have always had their conference. They have always had their conference. This is even the only time we are not having so many national conference. We have always had it, but the problem is it has political objective. For example, that of Goodluck Jonathan was actually to actualize his second term in office. Purely that he wanted to create superpowers of 774 people that he would have empowered with 70 million, that these guys will go back to their local government and deliver their local government for him. That's just the easy calculation. In fact, extended the tenure and they gave them additional some 2 million naira extra so that they will be well empowered and these guys, they will feel relevant for the second tenure of Jonathan. So it wasn't for any artistic reason. It wasn't for the benefit of Nigeria. Do you know that Jonathan sat on his table with the report of that committee on his table for more than 6 months, and he didn't deem it fit to append the signature? You now leave office. You are now calling on somebody that Ab Initio said is not interested in your conference, that you should come and sign. It doesn't make any sense. We need purposeful leaders.
No, it was politically motivated. I know it was politically motivated. But now we have a new government. The first thing I said in 2015...
No, Nigeria doesn't have a new government. Nigeria doesn't have a new government. Nigeria just repeated 1983. We don't have a new government. It's General Buhari that is the president. There is not a new government. So we return to, we reverse back. That's what I'm saying. How can Buhari be brought in to come and marshal a Nigeria that is going to fly into the space? He simply doesn't understand why you have to go into space technology. He doesn't know anything about cloud technology. He doesn't know anything about the person system. So that's the problem.
I quite agree with you. When they said, oh, it is Buhari is going to be the president anyway, he's a repentant Democrat or what it is. And I kept asking people, what is the meaning of a repentant Democrat? It is either you are fundamentally a Democrat or you are never. And now I discovered this is a guy who threw coup d'etat, overthrew a democratically elected president. It's now coming.
I think that's not even the issue.
30 years, this guy.
Do you know that in the news they said Trump should come and learn democracy from Buhari?
Gentlemen, thank you once again for coming to Yemi's house. And it's my pleasure. I would really love to continue with you, gentlemen, but time has never been on our side. But I really appreciate you and I really thank you. One can see that both of you don't really quite agree on this issue of secession. But and I think our next episode, we will talk about it. So thank you, gentlemen, once again. Have a nice day, gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Temi and Mr. Martins sharing their views over secession, over natural resources, and many other issues that we discussed with them. And I hope our viewers and people all over the world watching this program will see one or two things that they agree with or disagree with. So let us know what you think, and should Nigeria secede? Is that the way forward right now, or restructuring? This is how far we'll be going this week. And once again, I'm always grateful to my subscribers, my viewers, and well wishers from all over the world. And like I always say, Yemi Loruko mi. mi ìdẹ̀ ní yí orúkọ mi padà. Until next time on Yemi's House Berlin, peace.